Good morning, Waterloo. Good morning, Bernie.
Good morning, Laurent. Bon après-midi, Bordeaux. Je m'appelle Bernie Dunker et je suis vice-président associé et je m'occupe de la recherche interdisciplinaire à l'Université de Waterloo.
So my name is Laurent Servan. I am a vice president for International Network at the University of Bordeaux. It's our great honor and pleasure to welcome you on this very special occasion, a celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Bordeaux-Waterloo Strategic Partnership.
We have a very full program ahead, including reflections from our two presidents, the signing of our framework agreement for strategic international cooperation renewal, remarks and discussions from dignitaries, our faculty, researchers, and student alumni, presentations on Canada-France support resources, and a preview of the next stage of our partnership. Now, it is my great pleasure to invite Charmaine Dean, Vice President, Research and International at Waterloo, to make some remarks.
Thank you, Bernie. Bon après-midi. Good morning to everyone. Such a great pleasure to have this celebration today to celebrate a decade of a really remarkable partnership. It's been a 10-year collaboration for Waterloo and the University of Bordeaux, where we have developed, as you heard, substantive partnerships in a variety of research and educational activities covering diverse fields: artificial intelligence and health, functional materials, nanoscience, health and environment, water, energy and aging. We have funded 34 research projects between Waterloo and Bordeaux, totaling over $900,000. And that funding has been tripled by subsequent external sponsor grants awarded to Waterloo and to Bordeaux researchers from a variety of funding sources, from our Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, from our Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, from Solvay, Horizon, the European Commission, ANR. It's been fabulous to see the leveraging that has occurred through the collaboration. As well, the collaboration has also resulted in a joint doctoral program in functional materials, a student mobility program in bio-based chemistry, and over 30 new innovations and technologies, 135 joint publications and spin-off companies. Going forward, a joint institute is in the final stages of development to consolidate our collaborative activities and formalized in a renewed strategic research partnership that will be signed later in today's program. That will position us even more strongly to jointly address some major global challenges that both institutions are really passionate about driving forward on. Thank you so much for participating here today, and a really strong welcome to you all. Thank you very much, Bernie.
Thank you, Charmaine. We have some opening remarks from the ambassador of Canada to France, Isabelle Hudon. Perhaps we could play that video now.
Je regrette de ne pouvoir être avec vous aujourd'hui en direct, mais je tenais à partager un moment avec vous pour cette célébration, d'où ma présence en différé aujourd'hui via cette vidéo. I am very impressed by the many achievements of these 10 years of scientific cooperation between the University of Waterloo and l'Université de Bordeaux. What started 10 years ago as a modest collaboration between chemists from both sides of the Atlantic is now a rich and diverse partnership. Together, you have produced 34 joint projects, developed over 30 new innovations and technologies, and issued close to 100 joint publications in fields including functional materials, nanoscience, water, energy, aging, AI, and health. This is worth celebrating. 10 years, it is a strong start to be proud of. But it is just the beginning. entering its second decade, the partnership between University of Waterloo and l'Université de Bordeaux will take a new form with the launch of a joint Institute for Societal Benefit announced today. This new institute is well placed to address major global challenges, including the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It will be a great asset for the well-being of Canadian and French citizens and a game changer in many key areas of study. Congratulations once again and long live this partnership.
Thank you, Madame l'Ambassadrice. And now I am very happy to introduce Vice President Stéphanie Debette, who is Vice President for External Relations at the University of Bordeaux.
Many thanks, Laurent, and many thanks, Ambassador Isabelle Hudon, Madame l'Ambassadrice, for this inspiring speech. We feel extremely privileged to have actually two ambassadors speak for this very special occasion of the 10th anniversary of our strategic partnership between University of Waterloo and University of Bordeaux. Besides producing an amazing joint research and educational output and attracting over $2 million of external funding over these 10 years, our universities have also chosen to commit to joint initiatives for societal benefit. Thus, our partnership has been increasingly turned towards innovation with growing collaborations with industry, the emergence of startup companies, the fostering of entrepreneurship among students and of translational research. And as was mentioned, by partnership also entails a joint commitment to addressing key UN Sustainable Development Goals in domains that are relevant to our cooperation, as you will hear in detail later today, with a strong focus on materials science, where this whole thing started from actually 10 years ago, material science for energy, water, and health sciences, and also a strong focus on artificial intelligence, also with strong links with health. It is therefore of the utmost importance for us to benefit from the support and guidance of our respective ambassadors. I now have the honor and privilege to introduce the Ambassador of France in Ottawa, Madame Karen Rispal, who has kindly prepared a brief talk. Your Excellency, Madame l'Ambassadrice, the floor is yours.
Madame l'Ambassadrice du Canada en France, chère Isabelle, Monsieur le Président de l'Université de Waterloo, Monsieur le Président de l'Université de Bordeaux, Mesdames et Messieurs, je suis ravie d'être parmi vous ce matin pour célébrer les 10 ans de la relation riche qui lie vos universités, car c'est une fois de plus l'occasion de mettre en exergue les liens forts entre le Canada et la France dans les domaines de la recherche, de l'enseignement supérieur et de l'innovation. This is indeed a great opportunity to celebrate not only our cultural and scientific partnerships, but also the excellence of both universities celebrating today. You are indeed among the best in our respective countries. The University of Waterloo stands firmly in the top 15 research-intensive universities in Canada and ranks first among the comprehensive universities. The Université de Bordeaux is a member of the UDIS Association, which is made up of the top research-intensive universities in France. Le dynamisme de votre collaboration est particulièrement louable, surtout en ces temps incertains. Indeed, your collaboration has flourished within these 10 years. It started as a simple participation in a European doctoral school and from a limited number of researchers and professors in the field of material science, and developed and thrived into multidisciplinary projects across different faculties. Both universities provided funding $200,000 to $300,000 a year over 5 years for the University of Waterloo, and the Université de Bordeaux allocated parts of its IDEX grants. Your researcher collaborated on over 30 projects, developing innovations and publishing over 100 scientific publications in several fields from material science to AI and health. Beyond the research per se, the partnership also benefited students who thrived in this experience. Pour le futur, je sais que vous lancez un institut conjoint, the Institute for Societal Benefit, auquel je souhaite longue vie, ceci démontrant combien vos deux universités sont engagées dans la relation. Cette implication de vos deux institutions est vraiment remarquable et c'est bien ce que nous fêtons aujourd'hui. À travers vous, nous célébrons également l'importance et même, je dirais, la nécessité de la collaboration internationale entre nos universités. Celles-ci partagent des valeurs fondamentales de liberté académique et d'intégrité scientifique, non seulement une vision du monde et une perspective humaniste, mais aussi un attachement fort au rôle de la science dans la société et au respect de la vérité basée sur des faits scientifiques. And with that, I will conclude by wishing your partnership a happy birthday. I also wish you many more years of valuable collaboration and exciting joint projects. Je vous remercie.
Okay, so you must have on the screen a kind of big arrow, which is in fact an attempt to summarize the history between the University of Bordeaux and the University of Waterloo. In fact, the story dates back to 2006, when Professor Mona Troguer hosted in ICMCB, the Institute of Chemistry of Condensed Matter of Bordeaux, the first co-op student in Bordeaux. And it was a very important experience with a smart student, and she was very happy. And it really started in 2009 with the success we obtained to an European call on Erasmus Mundus joint doctorate. It involved the University of Bordeaux, the University of Waterloo, and 7 other European academic institutions. At this point, I want to express my deep gratitude to Professor Jean Etourneau, who initiated the project with me through the European Multifunctional Material Institute that he was chairing at this time, and also to Professor Eric Prouzet, who was professor at the University of Waterloo and initiated all the contacts and procedure in order to make University of Waterloo partner of this project. Without them and their tireless commitment, nothing would have been possible. As you can see on this graph, in fact, so 2009, 2010, the beginning, the first period between 2009 and 2013 was about mainly material science. We initiate projects undertaken jointly with the Waterloo Institute of Nanotechnology, which was shared at this time with Professor Arthur Corti. And we had many students, PhD students, working between Bordeaux and Waterloo through a co-tutel PhD. We then took a step forward from 2010 by setting up joint seminars between University of Waterloo and University of Bordeaux in order to extend our partnerships to other fields and to other areas of research. And now I leave you the floor to you, Bernie, for the next steps.
Thanks, Laurent. Indeed, we launched a strategic privilege partnership to extend our collaborations in research to other fields, such as, for example, the environment, water in particular, and we began to explore new training plans at the undergraduate level with the bio-based chemistry exchange program. We launched several seed fund calls that initiated numerous projects in new areas such as aging and computer science. And the partnership has significantly grown as a consequence. Our last joint seminar was held in Bordeaux in 2019 on health and artificial intelligence and resulted in several very exciting new collaborative projects.
Thank you, Bernie. So now I am back on the screen. So it's time to relax and chill out for a while and listen to those for whom we have been building this partnership. I mean, listen to the students. And now you will see a little film that summarizes the opinion of some students who share the Bordeaux-Waterloo experience. So please enjoy.
My name is Daniel Baccinello. I I'm Director of Research at the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research.
Initially, I have a degree in chemistry and physics.
I come from China. Prior to coming to this program, I obtained my bachelor degree of polymer science and engineering.
I'm currently CEO of my own company.
My thesis project was entitled Enhancing the Performance of Transparent Electrodes through the Design of New Nanostructures.
I'm currently a senior research engineer at NextDot, a French startup working on quantum dot development and their integration in different applications.
I was really drawn to the collaborative nature of the program.
I somehow thought a PhD was not challenging enough, so I decided to make it international, to make it more challenging.
I decided to go with this collaboration between Bordeaux and Waterloo, primarily by chance. It was from Dr. Retrouvez who told me about this program.
It was actually a very natural and smooth move for me to decide to accept this offer and join this program.
At the beginning, I really wanted to work in Canada on the long term, so this program was perfect to try the Canadian life and to see how it was going on in reality.
It could give me the possibility to explore the use of nanomaterials in a scope that was out of my knowledges.
I'd be able to interact with multiple labs, gain different perspectives from two different regions of the world, and really incorporate some insights from industry as well. And that's exactly what happened.
The first year and a half was extremely challenging.
Life in Canada was very different from life in France, so we needed to adapt.
Working careful consideration with time zones and a lot of different social constructs that were not necessarily taught in classrooms. I really appreciated all these lessons that I learned over the years.
I got quite fruitful training and knowledge from both universities and my lab, as well as from the industrial partners.
We could make a lot of different collaboration also outside of our circle.
Which was really fantastic. I got to move between Bordeaux and France, experience the spirit of collaboration between these two labs as part of my research.
It turned out to be a very great experience because I could meet so many unique, incredible, and very smart people, and they all made me the scientist I am today.
And I mean, the work I do today, 10 years later in my professional job, is entirely around bringing together researchers from diverse communities to solve problems in unique ways. And that's exactly the spirit of IDS and the work we did in this Bordeaux-Waterloo collaboration.
I appreciate the opportunity, and I would definitely recommend this to everyone, to the students in the future. Thank you.
Discovery.
Friendship.
Adaptation.
Challenging.
Unforgettable.
And fun.
So I just wanted to add a few comments about this sequence. It concerns students who took part to the PhD program, to the joint PhD program between the University of Bordeaux and the University of Waterloo. And this was, they were among the first cohort. So they had to discover the two universities, and even the supervisors asked to discover how to work, how the PhD were organized in each of the countries. And this was a major added value for us. And this provided us the opportunity to launch a co-tutel program. And the students are now in a very good position. They are working in companies, in organisms. One student is having his own startup. So it was very interesting for us to contact them again for the making of this film. And I want to thank you very much for accepting to take part to this small film. And it was quite a stress at the beginning because they had to face two bosses, two environment, two universities, two administrations, two types of examinations. But finally, it resulted in a very good experience, and they were all very, very happy. So I wanted to share these comments with you and to thank all the students again for taking part to this film.
Well, in addition to these incredible students, a vital factor in the successful collaboration between our two universities has been the truly outstanding partnership between our two presidents. It's now my honor to introduce Ferdan Hamdillapour, President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Waterloo.
And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Professor Manuel Tunon de Lara, President of the University of Bordeaux and also President of the French Conference of University Presidents.
And so what we have done is we have prepared some questions to start a bit of a discussion between our two presidents, if they'd like to join us now.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, Manuel. I don't have the flags. I can run back and bring them. We will share your flags. So my apologies for that.
No worries. Okay, so as I clear my voice. Ferdan, as I mentioned earlier, and Manuel, we have prepared some questions for you beforehand as a means of maybe stimulating a little bit of conversation to reflect on the past 10 years and to look forward to the next 10. So I'll start off with a question for the two of you then. How has the complementary nature of our two institutions contributed to the success of our partnership? And I'm not sure who would like to jump in first.
May I start?
Absolutely.
First, my dear Feridun, how are you?
Très bien, excellent, mon ami.
It's a pleasure to see you. May I remind Feridun that 10 years ago, in fact, we were creating or recreating the University of Bordeaux, and that the main relationship was between the University of Waterloo and Bordeaux 1. And I was, at this period of time, the president of Bordeaux 2, a university more specialized on health and health science. And it was really amazing to, already at this time, to have this relation based on science, on material science. And we were asked to create a new university, to have this challenge of campus of excellence, you know, the excellence initiative like in Germany. And we, of course, we had to choose some strong partnerships. So some models of universities. And the University of Waterloo was a very strong university, similar to ours in terms of science, of size, on innovation, with some aspects we didn't have, like the education approach, especially the co-op programs, and also this approach based on the link with the society. And this was a perfect partnership we had to strengthen, we have to develop when rising with our new university. So that's what we try to do, and I think that this was successful from my point of view.
I couldn't agree with you more, Manuel, but just let me start by saying what a great moment of pride and privilege it is to be here at this moment, celebrating our first 10 years of partnership. It all started because our institutions, our universities are blessed to have fabulous researchers. They're very curious. What drives them is to be able to ask some very difficult questions and then try to find answers to them. And this is how it all started. We established the first little tiny bridge between our two institutions because Professor Eric Crozet was one of those curious scientists. And as we started our initial contact, we realized that, please excuse the pun, but we had the right chemistry between the two institutions. And from there on, we could understand the depth in vision, understanding of collaboration, but the impact of collaboration. What will it mean to not just our own individual institutions, but beyond our institutions? I should acknowledge some individuals who introduced me to this project and also made me quite passionate about it. Again, Eric was one of them. Professor Jean Letourneau, he was just absolutely instrumental. Laurent, you've been there right from the very beginning. And of course, my good friend and colleague, Professor Terry McMahon, who was then the Dean of the Faculty of Science, who was extremely passionate about this project. He believed in it, he lived it, and he was able to convince me that this will become a model collaboration project in two institutions in two different countries. Different languages and different environments. One of the students, it was such a delight to listen to the students express that different countries, different environments. Yes, we are just a little tiny bit colder, but if you were here today, you would be experiencing 30+ + temperatures. But nevertheless, we didn't look at the reasons why this collaboration wouldn't work. We looked at all the reasons why it will be a spectacular collaboration. Of course, it was mentioned, Laurent, that travel through time slide was brilliant. That said how it started. We had the Waterloo Institute of Nanotechnology. You had just won the Functional Materials Doctor Program grant. And putting all those together, it was, believe me, a snowball effect. It became larger and larger and larger. And we are here today celebrating, and I underline my word, of first 10 years. There's a lot more ahead of us. And if you're looking at the impact we have created over the past 10 years, it is nothing to what to be expected in the next several 10 years. Thank you for that. Manuel, it would not have happened without your absolute commitment, your passion as well, and many conversations we had. I'm grateful to the two ambassadors who expressed their support for this project. And Manuel, you and I were at the French Embassy in Ottawa. And this is when we started talking about the next step. So we'll have a chance to talk about it. But my great gratitude for everyone, our colleagues, our faculty members, our administrators, our students who made this a great success story. Merci beaucoup.
We had a second question for you. What are your hopes for the next stage of the Bordeaux-Waterloo collaboration?
Well, I think I would like to say that I have the same gratitude to all these colleagues and people that have allowed us to launch this fabulous project, and now this Institute for Society Benefit, which is very important. As Feridoun said, we have discussed that and these projects many times, and it's amazing what we have done in 10 years. But what about the future? I think that we are in similar positions, and what I would like to point out is that Feridoun is about to leave as the president. By the end of the year, I will leave also the presidency of the University of Bordeaux. Of course, president commitments and the good friendship we have, I would like to give a hug to my friend Feridoun today. But it's important, but it's even more important to have all the contributors, all the staff all the exchanges and kind of exchanges between professors, researchers, students, like we have watched a video just before discussing that. It's enthusiastic to have this sort of collaboration between students, between our both universities. And when I have a glance to the program, I see now a lot of topics, of complementary topics with the groups of investigation that are collaborating. So, of course, for the future presidents of Waterloo and University and Bordeaux universities, I think that this is a priority project, and it will be, and I hope they will be happy to push them like we have pushed the project with Retrouvez-nous. But I think that the more important is what has been done. You were mentioning, you was mentioning Jean Etourneau. Jean has contributed to the relationship between Waterloo and Bordeaux in an extraordinary manner. And I think that what we are building together with all of the staff is the more important thing now. And the topics are much more important about the sustainability. We know the role that the University of Waterloo is playing with this topic in Canada and all over the world. It's very important to have a sort of synergy with the University of Bordeaux. But it's also true for other topics like IA and health and others. I was seeing the groups and the departments of psychology that are collaborating, and these are huge challenge for our societies now. And I am sure that our institute will contribute to that, and in an excellent manner. So I feel very confident, and I am frustrated not to be in Waterloo, but very, very pleased to celebrate this anniversary and to have these expectations for the future.
Thank you. Well, I should tell you that I'm equally frustrated. The photons and electrons that are enabling us to connect here, they're not the same as being right there. I miss not being in Bordeaux as well. I think you're absolutely right. We come, we take, over our responsibilities, and the goal is to bring the institution to a level higher than we inherited it. And I think we could be very proud that we've been able to do this. And one of the elements of this is, of course, our partnerships. This is, the vision is, what do we do? What we have built here, how do we accelerate? How do we make it even, exponential growth as opposed to linear growth? We both understand that part of our chemistry is that we are able to align our institutions with the anticipated changes in society. And one of our top priorities in our strategic thinking plan is how do we intersect technology, health, and society together. And I think Bordeaux and University of Waterloo, we completely overlap on this very critical mission. The world, as many of us witnessed, has gone through a tremendous changes with this COVID-19 experience. We know that while we are talking about these things, the technology is advancing and accelerating at an incredible speed. At the same time, we are realizing many, many big global challenges and health and aging that you summarized is one of them. But the dynamics of globalization is also changing. we go beyond what our individual institutions can do to what kind of partnerships can be established that 2 + 2 will be equal to many, many times more than 4. And if you look at the citations of our joint publications, there couldn't be a better evidence of that. So when this question came, we the two of us sat down and said, we have to put something in place that, as in the form of joint institute, that will be seamless. Our researchers, our students, they will work in a seamless manner, and the impact will be fabulously important. Here is the beauty of this. University of Bordeaux has a great medical school. University of Waterloo doesn't have one. We chose many years ago not to have one, and we still doing it that way. It doesn't mean that we are not involved heavily in health and medical sciences and all of those areas, but in a different manner. We have committed significant resources and attention to the artificial intelligence, and the intersection of this is going to revolutionize what medicine, what healthcare will be for the future. So it's just one example among many that to do this in the form of a joint institute makes a lot of sense. And I'm really, really grateful that all the resources we have put in, all the resources we have obtained from the European Union and our two governments, in Canada and in France, it's just been a great initiative to do that. So this is what we are seeing in the next step. Our collaboration is going to grow, it's going to deepen, and its impact will be seen from anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this conversation. We now come to a very important moment in the Bordeaux-Waterloo partnership, the renewal of the Framework Agreement for Strategic International Cooperation. This agreement will include faculty member and researcher exchanges, student mobility and joint studies, the opportunity of carrying joint research programs, to organize collaboration symposia, conference, and meeting, and last but not least, the intent of establishing a joint institute for societal benefit.
We would now like to invite the two presidents to sign the renewal agreement and then hold it up to the screen.
We sign.
All right. Fantastic. So this.
Thank you very much.
I hope we have a picture to fix this moment in time.
Maybe we'll give a second more for our
picture of the screens.
Yes, but maybe we should, Laurent and I should get off the screen and have the presidents side by side.
Wonderful.
Manuel.
Thank you so much, Feridun. Thank you so much.
We are doing our virtual handshake.
All right. So thank you so much to the presidents. What an important moment in our relationship. And of course, at the heart of our relationship are the researchers and students involved in the research. So we're now going to turn to the research sequences part of the program. And we have some very, very exciting presentations indeed. Innovative collaborative research that addresses pressing global challenges is at the heart of the Waterloo-Bordeaux relationship. As has been mentioned already, to date, 34 joint projects have made remarkable contributions to a wide variety of research fields, including functional materials, nanosciences, water, energy, aging, artificial intelligence, and health.
So we are delighted that a number of Bordeaux and Waterloo researchers have agreed to join us today to speak about the groundbreaking collaborative work they have been involved in, as well as to look ahead to future trends and opportunities. Please feel free to post any question in the Q&A channel as we go along, and we will see if we are able to take these questions. So we will show you a few projects. Bernard?
Thank you, Laurent. So as you saw, the title card was up there a second ago. We have our first presentation is titled AI Sensing of Fragile and Early Dementia Subjects for Prevention of Risk Situations and Their Safety, a case study of fruitful collaboration between Université de Bordeaux and University of Waterloo. It's Jenny Benoit Pinault, Hélène Amieva from Université de Bordeaux, Laura Middleton from University of Waterloo, and Olivier Blanc, who's the president of Inflexis. And this is really a fantastic example that, you know, both institutions are involved, but it's also, there's an involvement of a company, Inflexis in this case, a company from Aquitaine. And this, you know, has presented a lot of great training opportunities for students. Now, I know Jenny is here. I think Olivier wanted to be here, but has sent late regrets. So Jenny, I think you're sharing your screen with us now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, dear presidents, chairs, and colleagues, it is my pleasure today to present you our joint research work on AI sensing among people who are frail or have early dementia to detect and reduce risk and improve safety. So our project was built upon collaboration between our research institute in computer science, Labrie, in CERM and CSU, and the company Inflexis, which was called Bioimmersive Risk Detection System. And we started our collaboration with Laura Middleton team 1 year approximately ago. So Laura, are you here? Laura is obviously not here, so I will present the mobile of this project. Indeed, since several years, we have a very strong population aging phenomenon. And if we can see some statistics, then you can see that 1/3 of French population will be over 60 years old by 2050, and 1/4 of the Canadian population will be over 65 years old, and 1/10 over 80 years old by 2050. So this is a really challenge for the society due to economic cost and care needed to these people. All the adults are not the same. They need to consider the conditions of late life, state of health, autonomy in daily life, and quality of life to help them to stay in their natural environments. And some research shows that health in late life has improved in the current generation of older adults, but that this may not hold for future generations. And our aim in this project, which is to detect risk in the home, aligns with the World Health Organization Active Aging Policy Framework. And as I said, the origins are in synergy of two research projects. Laura's Department of Kinesiology, working with elderly subjects and specific target populations, and the team of BPH of Hélène Amieva, Inflexis, and Labrie, working on frailty. So, what is successful aging and how can we prevent or circumvent risks for these people? the conditions of the person at home are very important because it is the context which is the potential source of risks. And these risks are various, can be domestic accident risks, or risks of falling, or risks of not taking medication. And IT, artificial intelligence, specifically today technologies for risk detection, is one of the solutions. So here is the architecture of our project. We started on January 2020, and normally we should have finished this seed project this coming June. But the pandemic situation impacted our recordings. So we thank both university for having prolongated our project for 1 year more. And we have quite nice teams working on this. In library, these are young researchers, PhD students, and also this project has a pedagogical impact because we involve our undergraduate students. And also it is a large source of project for engineering students at Polytechnical Institute of Bordeaux. In INSERM, we also have more than Professor Amil, of course, PhD students and healthy volunteers, elderly volunteers, which do participate in the recordings. At University of Waterloo, the project leader is Associated Professor Laura Middleton, and she works with her students, undergraduate students, very nice Max Berglet, who worked with us this year, and the PhD student Samira Mihrabi. Inflixis has involved a lot of his team into the project, and it is led by a technical director of Inflixis, Rafael Inglesia. And of course, we are very much thankful to our universities for this financial support, which allowed us to buy mirror equipment and, of course, to design new activities. And also we have to state that we have other sources, and specifically Inflixis has contributed a lot developing the sensor acquisition kit and Android application. So here you can see the image of the sensor kit that elderly persons are volunteered to wear. And it is quite aesthetical, and all the disposal of the devices was studied by our psychologist and also by Laura's team. Here you can see the sensors, which include signal sensor, vital signal sensor, electrodynamic sensors, and also video. And
Jenny,
Laura, are you here?
Yes, I am here. I've been here, but I just got set to presenter. So I missed the earlier slides, but I can take over this one and then you can finish this off.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny. So sorry about that, everyone. Just switching over to presenter a little bit later. So one of the important activities of our collaboration was to develop some consensus and refine the activities or situations that we wanted to detect amongst older adults in the long term in the home. Some of these that you see here are quite simple, but could yield some important insights. Examples of these are detecting medication intake and hydration. These are what we might call low-hanging fruit, where they may be relatively easy to detect, haven't been well studied, but we know that failure to take medication or hydrate can have an immediate effects to balance, mobility, and cognition. Others may be more complicated. For example, I'm interested in understanding the safety for at-home exercise prescription amongst people who are frail or people living with dementia. In this context, it's important to understand physiological states. So this physiological category is meant to detect changes in cardiovascular cardiovascular function during changes in posture, for example, standing from sitting. The action section highlighted here is meant to detect activities where the risk of falls is high. So rushing or stumbling are activities that someone might do, but also lifting, reaching overhead, and sweeping are examples of high-risk activities, especially for those with poor mobility or balance. Some events are even difficult to classify because they are both necessary events of daily living, but also risky events. So the examples of these are handling knives or other cooking instruments, or having visitors. Most often positive social activities, interactions resolved, but can also carry risk of intrusions from people who are less desirable to have around. This particular activity has been particularly difficult to capture in COVID-19, as you might imagine, with fewer people coming in and out of households. So over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, so we did record the first corpus, and this corpus was recorded, as you can see, in an absolutely ecological environment at home of a young volunteer. And we worked on submissions to human ethics committees at University of Waterloo and University of Bordeaux, and the process is now activated. And of course, this kind of data requires a very thorough anonymization. So you can see here the results of semi-automatical processing, which are checked by psychologists for the total impossibility to recognize and identify the person. But we also have some very important research problems, not only in data mining, but starting from data acquisition. And our PhD student, together with, of course, computer scientists, developed a data synchronization application as we have several sensors and video. And also the annotation of the data for training of AI systems is a very important part of any AI project. So the annotation interface was developed by the students of University of Bordeaux under our supervision and technical interaction, also with the team of Laura, with Max Berglet and other participants. And the result is that we have an interface with visual inference of risks and also the possibility to zoom in on physiological and dynamical signals. So this interface was tested on non-IT annotators, psychologists, and kinesiology students, and it is indeed easy to use. Then we worked and got some promising results on mining of this data. So on signal data, we deployed temporal AR tools such as LSTM networks. Here you can see some results on training and validation in terms of decrease of the classification error. But please do not forget that these data are in the wild data. So they are noisy, they are quite imprevisible, and all the artificial intelligence tools are not able today to give us 100% accuracy. So the figures you can see here are considered today in the state of the art as very good. And basically what we have as a result, we have the taxonomy extended and elaborated by Laura's teams. We are ethics submissions which are ongoing. we developed and deployed data annotation and synchronization applications and our AI tools, which are in a constant improvement using different modalities, such as video, for instance. And we also produced a joint paper, and it will be presented at an ACM conference on multimedia modeling very shortly in June, because the kind of techniques for mining multimodal data are typically coming from the multimedia domains. And now we are developing much more complex architectures of AI tools. What is our future? Laura, please.
So moving forward, we have been working through the ethics process slowly because of the pandemic, but look forward to being able to record our own data here at University of Waterloo soon. First amongst healthy young adults and then amongst older adults once research with that group is possible. We aim to develop a joint data set to train the models on by Jenny's team in order to better inform detection of these events, again, as Jenny said, in the real life and messy environment. We've had joint workshops planned, one at Université de Bordeaux and one at University of Waterloo. We had hoped that these would happen last year, but of course, travel restrictions got in the way. And so with the generous extension to our project, we hope that these will be able to occur in this coming year, because we all know that these in-person meetings and discussions are really at the heart of these collaborations.
And we started conducting AI tools experiments on extended corpus, and we will integrate Laura's data also. And what is also very important in all health AI application is the explainability and trustfulness to AI tools in their decisions. So from a research point of view, we are also working on these methods. So we are finished. Your questions, please.
Thank you so much, Jenny and Laura, and apologies, Laura, that it took a while for you to be co-presenter. What marvelous progress, really pointing to the future of the Bordeaux-Waterloo partnership. I'm wondering briefly if you could just speak to, it was a question that was asked of the presidents earlier on, but you're marvelously showing the complementarity of the two institutions. Just maybe briefly, something you feel, is absolutely vital that, about the partner institution in terms of the success of your collaboration.
For us, it is absolutely fantastic because Laura's team is specialized in kinesiology and our team is specialized in psychology, and the risk situation arriving at home for elderly and frail are the combination of both. We would never imagine that a person can have a risky situation when it is trying to grasp an object. This is typically the competence of Laura as a researcher, so this is really exciting for us because we are recording richer and richer data and build richer models.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, and I would say, it's interesting because our collaboration is in some ways the opposite of what is expected of them, in that the AI expertise is at Université de Bordeaux, and then some of the health comes from our site. But I think it was really exciting to be able to leverage the partnership that Jenny had developed with Dr. Amieva in psychology, that they had started work around frail older adults, and to build off of that to detect and aim towards working with people living with dementia, and add a bit of a deeper understanding around mobility and falls and cardiovascular risk was really something that led to a richer project, I think.
Well, as someone who has two parents over 90 and one who is certainly suffering from dementia, thank you for your research. It's so important with an aging population. And so thank you very much for getting us started. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to have a slight change in the schedule. So we're actually going to move now to what was listed as the third talk. So this is going to be the title, Payments for Wetland Ecosystem Services as a Nature-Based Solution for Sustainably Managed Urbanized Watersheds. This is also a newer field of UW Bordeaux collaboration, the environment, focusing on issues concerning water resources. And here the collaborators are Jean-Christophe Perrault, who's a professor of economics at Université de Bordeaux, and Roy Brouwer, who's a professor of economics, and he's the executive director of the Water Institute at the University of Waterloo. So thank you for joining us.
Hi. Maybe I'll start to present the project and the history of the project. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And my participation in these 10 years of cooperation is more recent. It started 3 years ago with a small project funded by the two universities. And this project, the aim was to build a bigger project. And this has been done successfully because we get a project from the Social Science and Humanities Research Council. And this project is led by Roy. And I think he will explain after the idea of this project. So it's really a pleasure to work with him and all the people in the Water Institute. And what was the common, the core, we say the wetland, the topic of wetland was the core of our expertise. And we work on this subject, and because wetlands are ecosystems which are very valuable from an economic point of view in terms of climate regulation, flood control, and of course we know that this wetland are, I will say, I try to summarize the idea, but the wetland ecosystem are under serious stress worldwide, and we have to protect. And as an economist, we have to implement some instrument to protect this ecosystem. So that's why we work on this subject. Of course, the scale of the case studies in Waterloo and Bordeaux are not the same. In Bordeaux, it's the wetlands are located in the Gironde estuary, and ecosystems are also different. But as an economist, with the instrument can be the same to implement both in Canada and in Bordeaux. So we start to work on this topic during the last 3 years, and I think the cooperation is very fruitful. And maybe I can ask Roy to complete this presentation.
Thank you, Jean-Christophe. Yeah, so I just saw that there was a full-blown presentation with PowerPoint. I didn't prepare any PowerPoint, but I was just thinking of also referring a little bit to the way this collaboration started. So Bordeaux was actually one of the first things that I got on my plate when I arrived in Waterloo in 2016, and the Water Institute at the University of Waterloo, which is one of the largest interdisciplinary research centers on campus here at the University of Waterloo, had already initiated some preliminary contacts with the University of Bordeaux and the LAPEX cluster of excellence in 2014. Then in 2016, we were very fortunate to get funding from the Bordeaux Waterloo Research Cooperation Grant, and that allowed us on Waterloo side to visit Bordeaux in 2016. And we met with a very large group of people from Bordeaux in the natural sciences, primarily, where we explored 3 different types of potential areas of collaboration. It was about the risks and reducing the risks of emerging contaminants. We were looking at nutrients and their impacts on receiving water bodies. And the domain where Jean-Christophe and myself, we found each other was in the role of economics. That was the 3rd theme, the role of economics in sustainable water management. And so visiting Bordeaux in 2016 was a fantastic kickoff with the help of the Bordeaux University of Waterloo research grant to establish the collaboration. From University of Waterloo side, there was Nandita Basu, Philippe van Capellen, Fasil Karanaisios, Juan Liu, Alain Nimombona, our colleague in economics, Caroline Wren, and Kim van Meter, and my first postdoc actually here at the University of Waterloo, she was French as well, Naomi Nevers. She participated in that meeting as well. And in 2017, l'APEX Côté's colleagues were so kind to invite our students, or to give them a place in the interdisciplinary summer school that they organized on weak signals and emerging issues in ecological transition. We offered them the same courtesy in 2019 when the University of Waterloo's Water Institute organized its own inaugural summer school on climate change and water security in urbanizing watersheds. And in between 2017 and 2018, as Jean-Christophe mentioned, we had writers workshops over back and forth in Waterloo and in Bordeaux. And one of the beautiful things that grew out of that, out of those events, out of those workshops, was a strategic partnership grant proposal that we submitted here to the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, called Payments for Wetland Ecosystem Services, as a nature-based solution. And we've been working on this together since the summer of 2019 when it got accepted. Alain, I'm not sure if he's on this call, but Alain, my colleague in economics, he got invited by Jean-Christophe's department as a visiting Bordeaux professor as well. So the interconnection between the economists, between the University of Bordeaux and Waterloo is very strong. Jean-Christophe even came over for another conference that we organized on the blue economy in 2017, and he presented his work on groundwater, which is very well known here. And so that collaboration has been very successful, if I may say. So it focuses on something that is highly relevant, and that is looking for ways of how we can manage some of the environmental challenges that we face, both in Europe, on the mainland, and here in Ontario, where a lot of wetlands got lost. And we know that these wetlands can play a very crucial role in capturing, for example, nutrient runoff into receiving water bodies. And some of the work that we've been doing so far is comparing the cost effectiveness of these wetlands protection programs or wetland restoration programs with more conventional, what we call best management practices here in Ontario. So alternative ways of incentivizing farmers to reduce the amount of fertilizer, for example, that they use on their land. And what we've been able to show so far in our project is that wetlands are a truly cost-effective solution that will last a very long time once in place, to help us reduce nutrient runoff from agricultural land in, for example, the Great Lakes here in Canada. And we've been proposing and recommending that these wetlands are an integral part of any policy program implemented here in the Great Lakes, for example, to reach policy objectives of getting the amount of phosphorus pollution down by around 40% in one of the most polluted lakes here, Lake Erie. So a very successful collaboration, if you ask me, where we managed, through the financial support of both the University of Bordeaux and the University of Waterloo, we managed to find each other in a very policy relevant environmental economics domain.
Maybe I can add just one thing. This project involves, of course, local policymakers, stakeholders, and users. So I think that for the future, for the next Institute of Social Benefits, I think we will be able to contribute from the environmental side.
Jean-Christophe, Roy, thank you so much. What a fantastic partnership. Thank you so much for joining us this morning / this afternoon. I actually see that we are in the proper order. The comment I made earlier was referring to an earlier version of the schedule. So now over to the next couple of talks, and Laurent.
Yes, thank you. So these talks demonstrate clearly that the partnership has been able to extend to other fields than the primary fields on science and technology. I want to apologize the president of Inflexis company, Olivier Blanc, who is working with Laura Middleton and Jenny Benoit-Pinot, because he had a problem this morning, and in fact he has not been able to join us. So I hope he will be able to fix this problem. And I am grateful to him because he supported the collaboration between two institutions, two countries, France and Canada, and it's not so simple for a company to get involved in a research project. So his commitment in this project demonstrates it's possible to have a joint project with companies. So he has a company, Inflexis. I recommend you to see the website, and he was deeply involved in this project. I want to thank as well Roy Brouwer and Jean-Christophe Perrault, because again, it was not so simple to jump in the partnership, as the field, their field, was not initially inside the partnership, and we are very, very happy that it has done so well. Now I want to introduce another project who involves Mira Fernandez, professor of psychology at the University of Waterloo, and Hélène Sauzeon, who is professor of psychology and cognitive science at the University of Bordeaux, and she's as well involved in an INRIA team. And I am also very pleased, very happy to welcome Siva Shankar Yadurshana, who is a master's student working with both of them. And it's a MITAX student, so she will come to visit Bordeaux very, very soon. So this is a great opportunity to strengthen the partnership and to involve MITAX in this partnership. So I give you the floor to present your work on enhancing spatial memory.
Okay, thank you very much. What I'm going to do is hopefully share my screen with you, if you can all see that clearly. Alors, bienvenue et merci. C'est un plaisir d'être ici, de partager les détails de notre collaboration. I'm really, really happy with everything that we've been able to do over the past few years with Hélène Sauzeon. The topic of what we do is really revolving around spatial knowledge. I'm in the field of psychology, and a lot of what we look at is both root knowledge and survey knowledge. And this will become relevant for all of you, hopefully, as we progress through and tell you about the purpose of what we're doing. So root knowledge is really just that knowledge that you have of where to turn at certain intersections. And survey knowledge is configural map-like abilities that give you the ability to take shortcuts when there's construction or things in the way. And our initial collaboration that started several years ago resulted in a publication where we were looking at using virtual reality to create environments and actually study spatial navigation and route knowledge in younger adults and in senior citizens. And you can see an image on the left there. We actually had some very basic VR technology. We had the little cardboard box, and it was really nice. You could actually use this with a phone and project our program that allowed people to navigate through different city, mall, and park environments. And what was the idea here? What were we looking at? Well, we know that there's age-related changes associated with memory, with young adults and older adults and younger children that have impaired spatial memory abilities. In particular, they're poorer when retracing a traveled route. And we know that this is actually one of the main features of an early Alzheimer's and in Alzheimer's disease, where people actually find themselves lost in familiar environments. So this spatial knowledge is very important to be able to measure accurately. And because it's a cognitive function, what we've wanted to do is look at ways that we can ameliorate any early changes in spatial navigation ability. And we wanted to know if active encoding could reduce these age-related deficits. So you might wonder, what in the world is active encoding? Obviously, we have physical activity involved. When we're moving around in space physically ourselves, we of course create a better memory of that environment. But that's not always possible when you're in a car or on a bus. And so what we focused in on is how to measure the cognitive activity and active decision-making and allocation of attention that allows us to actually have better representations of where we've been. And so what we've done within the VR environment, and this is thanks to work with Melissa Mead and John Mead, who were graduate students on this project and involved in the publication, where we actually looked at the percentage overlap between encoding and test. What you see there is a schematic of the routes that were traveled during initial exploration and retrieval. And we can see that what we have is the ability to measure your ability to retrace your steps. Most importantly in this graph, one of the main findings is that active exploration during this encoding or exploration stage enhances memory. So on the far right, we see the dark gray bar. Older adults benefit particularly when they are the decision makers rather than being told where to go. So when they are making the decisions at those intersection points, when they are the ones in control of where they're going, we see the best retention of the information. So there's a lesson there with AI devices, which we're going to get to in just a moment. It's really brought us to this idea of using Siri guided maps to help us as we progress. And if master student Yadu can unmute, and will take us through the next couple slides.
Okay, so hello everyone. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. My name is Yadu, and I'm very happy to be here to present about our ongoing project on spatial navigation and virtual reality. If we can move on to the next slide. Okay. So the primary aim of this study was to measure participants' memory of spatial routes after they have explored a map within virtual reality. And as Dr. Fernandez mentioned, as is in our previous experiments, we will have participants passively and actively explore. But what is novel to this experiment is that we are specifically examining the impact of Siri-guided exploration of a map. And this is important because many of us are guilty of using Siri-guided Google Maps to help us get from one location to another. And while this may be useful for us in the short term, we predict that relying on these external navigational devices negatively impacts our long-term memory for the routes traveled. And critically, we predict that it's the lack of self-initiated decision-making at critical turning points or at intersections during Siri-guided navigation that impedes our long-term memory. So through the findings of this project, we hope to optimize the use of AI devices such as Google Maps and Siri to enhance long-term spatial memory. And in this project, we have several cognitive performance measures. We will be obtaining route overlap by measuring the route, by comparing the route taken at exploration to the route taken at retrieval. We will also be measuring landmark and scene recognition, and we will also ask participants to draw out the map that they've just explored to observe their memory for the general spatial layout of the map. And next up, I have a quick video here of a demonstration of a map that we have created using virtual reality. And so this is a type of environment that participants will be exploring in.
Hey, thank you very much. And of course, our final project really, Hélène Sozéan took the lead on this last one, project 3, looking at other aspects of cognition that could benefit performance. I don't know if Hélène is able to unmute and jump in.
Hi everyone. To complete the joint program, a third project focuses on spatial learning in children. In children, spatial learning mechanisms are still developing, and the idea of this last project is to study if intrinsic motivation like curiosity state help children to perform better in navigational tasks. Today, curiosity, not now. Today, the curiosity is seen as a good lever for supporting cognitive development or for promoting healthy cognitive aging. In this context, we use the virtual reality application previously presented by by Mira. And we conducted a study with children by manipulating curiosity state during exploration of the environment on the virtual environment. This manipulation consisted of manipulating the probability of appearance of motivational objects like cartoon character as illustrated here. And we just finished to treat the result, and they are supportive to the idea that curiosity enhances spatial learning in children. So it seems that it's a promising avenue for children as well. We hope that we can explore this new avenue for future work with older adults. Now, a couple of words about another joint project. This project is led by the Flowers team from the Enoya Center of Bordeaux. It includes Pierre-Yves Oudéier and Edith Lowe from the Game Institute of the University of Waterloo. It aims to design and assess new interactive systems driven by curiosity in order to support learning across the lifespan. A first study was successfully conducted and presented to one of the more important conferences in the field of computer and human interaction, namely CHI conference. In this study, we develop a new educational technology that stimulates the question-asking behaviors in children so that they perform text reading with deeper thinking, and the result reveals that it works well. So today this program is in progress, and we are currently design new experiment, and we hope that it could be possible to travel in the next months in order to perform the experiment. And I think that it's very important for master and PhD students because for whom it's very important to have a direct contact, a direct exchange with different research environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you to all the participants of this scientific session. We are a little bit late. I want to thank you very much for accepting to come and to present all your work. This demonstrates that the partnership between University of Waterloo and University of Bordeaux is very large and involves a lot of fields. So it's the reason why the commitment of institution is relevant for such a wide and huge project. In order to address the future now, I would like to introduce to you 4 guests, and I will ask them to give us their feeling about what they have seen and about the partnership we try to settle. So I am very happy to, and I thank them for coming, to introduce you Professor Sushanta Mitra, who is now the head of the Waterloo Institute of Nanotechnology. We have had in the past many collaboration with this institute. I welcome as well Mario Maglione, who is the head of the chemistry of the Condensed Matter Institute of Bordeaux, called ICMCB. As well, Nicolas Roussel, who is director of the INRIA Bordeaux Sud-Ouest, and Professor Vijay Ganesh, who is a professor and the present director of the Artificial Intelligence Institute. So maybe Sushanta, you can say a few words, as your institute has been deeply involved in the partnership since the beginning.
Thank you, Lauren. It's a really terrific pleasure to see you all here. So as Lauren has mentioned, the Waterloo Institute for Nanotechnology, WIN, has a very strong, productive relationship with Bordeaux. We treasured this relationship since 2010 through the Ideas Fund Match program, which ended in 2018. 13 PhD students are graduated with dual degrees from University of Bordeaux and Waterloo in nanotechnology. We have a number of joint visits, like holding workshop here in Waterloo, holding workshop at Bordeaux, and through in 2014, when there was this International Research Partnership Grant, IRPG, which helped to facilitate a number of these research partnerships for WIN member, who include Jan Duhamel, Lin Wei, Pavle Rodnovic, Eric Pazet, of course, Graham Murphy, Hamed Majidi, and Irene Goldthorpe. So out of this, we see close to 50 publications emerged in nanotechnology and advanced materials. So our relationship started with nanomaterials because one of the key thematic area of WIN is a smart and functional material. When I was there in 2019, it was a fantastic celebration we had in the closing ceremony of the IDSF program, and we really charted our thoughts in terms of what is the next phase in this relationship. And we looked at the material discovery as a big way, particularly using AI, machine learning, to look at the next way of material discovery grounded in sustainability. As an institute, the WIN is committed to United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, and we see that as a path forward using machine learning AI in terms of material discovery. We have WIN fully committed to provide seed funding on top of what the additional funding the Joint Institute already had to organically help to nurture some of those partnerships between University of Bordeaux and WIN researchers in the direction of material discovery using machine learning. So we are very excited, looking forward to the next phase of this relationship. Of course, missing Bordeaux, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to visit and maybe perhaps over a drink and a Bordeaux wine, we can enjoy much more friendship and this partnership, which we cherish a lot from WIN perspective. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Sushanta. I will ask Mario to say a few words, as the two institutes are quite close, in fact.
Thank you, Laurent. Yes, indeed, Professor Mitra already told you about the history of research together in the field of material discovery. So I must say that we were very happy in the Bordeaux side to cooperate with mostly the WIN Institute in Waterloo, because it was very successful, as you already said just now. And I would like to recall Professor Jean Etourneau, who was at the beginning of the story. And I'm very proud of the director of the Institute of Condensed Matter Chemistry of Bordeaux, because Jean was also the founder of this institute, 26 years old. So it's a long story. As for material science, I'm sure it will go on. So there are two expressions that Professor Feridoun Hamdoulapour used just now. Was the chemistry between the two institutions, he said that word, and then he called it the snowball effect. So you start and then you grow. And something which is very important in chemistry is nucleation. How can we using our chemistry parameters make the thing nucleate. So I think that was very successful in the field of material science. And as was said just now, we now want to accelerate the way we discover new materials. And we are perfectly in line with what you said about accelerating materials discovery. So I think that it is really a key for the next. We need now, instead of taking 20, 30 years to discover one new material, to make it in less than 1 year. So that's the challenge. And as you said, machine learning, artificial intelligence comes in at that point, how to accelerate it. So there are now many projects starting in France, and I think the Bordeaux site and our lab will be involved in the next future. So I will not be too long. I just want to give you 2 keywords, which are, I think, relevant for the Bordeaux site. So in the field of materials discovery, we need to screen a lot of different material, to screen it very quickly, which means we need a lot of chemical reactions taking place at the same time. And that's a big challenge. And one of the keywords in Bordeaux is fluidics. How can we manage microreactors to work in parallel in a very fast way to accelerate the way we synthesize materials? So fluidics is the first keyword I want you to keep in your mind, because we have several labs in the Bordeaux campus working with fluidics, and we have a very special lab, which is a joint lab between Solvay company, University of Bordeaux, and CNRS. And one of the topics in this lab is exactly that, how to use fluidics to screen a lot of different materials. So that's the first keyword I want you to keep in mind for the way that the Bordeaux campus can contribute to the screening of materials. The next keyword is when you make a lot of different materials, you need to probe them. You need characterization tools, and that also needs artificial intelligence. So another a topic that is very active in Bordeaux relates to optics. How can we use all optical tools we have to look at the material, to make spectroscopy, to make imaging during the time we grow the many materials. So that also require very huge database, and the processing of this data needs artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's the 2 keywords I want you to keep: fluidics and optics. I think that there are many others. I don't want to be too long, but these 2 are the key point to which we can contribute. And before concluding, I would like to introduce you the next director. I mentioned Jean Etourneau, who was the founder of this lab. I am the present director of ICMCB. And on the screen, we have now Cyril Emonier, who will be the next director starting from next January. So I felt it very important to introduce Cyril to you. Maybe you know him already, because he will be the next director who will work with you towards this use of artificial intelligence in material science. He already planned a lot for the next January start of his directorship of the lab, and he has already some projects on how to use artificial intelligence. Sorry. So please, Cyril, you can say a few words. I don't know.
Yes, thank you, Mario. Dear colleagues, I will be director of the ICMCB from 1st January 2022. So the project of the laboratory to discover new compounds, functional material for the future in the field of energy, photonic, environment, health, and electronic is based on 4 pillars. 2 historical ones, solid state chemistry and material science, 1 pillar under development in material engineering, and 1 pillar, as it has been mentioned by Mario, under construction, the use of numerical tools for speeding the development of material and processes. So in other words, the implementation of AI tools in solid state chemistry and material science and engineering. So as it has been already said, ICMCB has been very active in the first decade of collaboration between the two universities, and it will be, of course, our great pleasure to be strongly involved in writing the future of the collaboration in the second decades between the University of Bordeaux and the University of Waterloo. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome on board, Cyril. And now I want to give the floor to the two newcomers in the game. So concerning artificial intelligence, and I will give the floor to Professor Vijay Ganesh, maybe for a few words.
Thank you very much for giving me this floor. I really appreciate it. A lot has been said about artificial intelligence already by the previous speakers. All I want to add to that is that I just want to give you an idea of the AI focus at Waterloo. We have more than 200 researchers in different departments and different units of the university that are focused on AI, and they have 450 students and postdocs working for them, and they're working on all aspects of AI from theory on one side, machine learning, symbolic reasoning systems, combinations, and also new fields like neurosymbolic AI, where the goal is to combine rule-based reasoning with machine learning-based reasoning. And this would be a great opportunity to collaborate with the University of Bordeaux on AI. In fact, my own area is in logic and building rule-based symbolic reasoning systems like solvers, etc. And it so happens that University of Bordeaux is also a leader in that space. And one of my colleagues, Laurent Simon, works at the university over there. And Sushanta, Mario, and Cyril mentioned the importance of AI in hard sciences. And that's another big focus of Waterloo is AI in the hard sciences. So there's great opportunity here for collaboration between Waterloo and University of Bordeaux. And I hope that in the next few years, we'll intensify that collaboration and get a lot of more interesting projects going on. Thank you again.
Thank you, Vijay. So, Nicolas, please, if you have a few comments on.
Sure. So I'm really happy to be here. I'll say a few words on INRIA. INRIA is the French National Institute for Research in Digital Science and Technology. We've been working with University of Bordeaux for nearly 20 years, and the main topics that we have been working on in this context is high performance computing and digital health, and also artificial intelligence, and especially approaches that are inspired by neuroscience and cognitive psychology. INRIA and the University of Waterloo also have a history of collaboration. And there are lots of INRIA researchers that have worked with people from Waterloo over the last few years. I myself have worked with some researchers from your university on human-computer interaction. And there are also established connections between INRIA, the University of Bordeaux, and the University of Waterloo, with health researchers, with HEI researchers, like I said, with psychology researchers, like we just saw with the talk from Mayra Fernandez and Hélène Sauzeon, and also with the neuroscience researchers. So there is a history that we can build upon. So what can we do beyond that? I think that there are lots of other topics that we could work on together, looking at the website of the Sheraton School of Computer Science. For example, I was able to identify several fields like scientific computing, like formal methods, like data systems, software engineering, to name a few. And I think the challenge is to manage to bring people from different disciplines together to help them foster the emergence of new research directions, to support the initial work on these new topics, and then help the researchers define long-term scientific roadmaps and help them acquire the necessary resources. And we have a great expertise in doing that at INRIA. We've been doing that with the University of Bordeaux for a number of years, as I said, and we'll be really happy to do that with the University of Waterloo as well. I think that the title of the institute that you want to create, Intersections for Social Benefits, is really great because I think this is precisely what we need. to bridge the gap between people and to work on research topics that will aim at in the right directions, let's say, so for social benefits. I think a good partnership is also better than you think, and I think it's already the case between Waterloo, Bordeaux, and INRIA. When we talked with Laurent Servant, I think we both realized that there was already a lot of things going on that we didn't know about. So I didn't know that the University of Bordeaux was doing so many things with the University of Waterloo, but the same was true the other way. So maybe the snowball is already bigger than we think. As institutions, we operate in different ways, but I see this diversity as a good thing because I think it offers different ways to support the emerging collaborations in different ways. And so INRIA will hopefully contribute to all these efforts in extending the collaborations between the two universities.
Thank you very much. Maybe Bernie, if you have some comments, I give you the floor.
Well, so fantastic to be imagining, dreaming about the future in terms of, these exciting areas of investigation. You also need supports, of course, for these investigations. And so we next have a session with a couple of very special guests who are going to be telling us about Canada-France support resources. So we have Xavier Grosmaître, who's the Science and Higher Education Attaché from the Ambassade de France in Ottawa. And we have Fevronia Novak, who's the Program Manager in the Higher Education and Youth Division of the Embassy of Canada in Paris. And apologies to both of you. I know we're running a little bit long here, but of course we very much do want to hear about some of these resources. And so Xavier, maybe if you're able to start off.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Bon après-midi à tous à Bordeaux. I'm going to share my screen to show you a few information about the scientific service of the French embassy in Canada. Okay, I guess you can see this. So what I would like to do today is really to mention that considering new opportunities that you may have, and we heard a lot of new projects that could be supported just from what we've just heard about, whether it is about material science or AI. So I would like to mention what we are doing and how we could potentially support you. So the scientific service at the embassy has several missions. One is to monitor the advances in science and technology in Canada. And then two main missions, which are to establish and strengthen partnerships in science and technology, and to promote exchanges of students, researchers, and young entrepreneurs between two countries. Concerning the establishing and strengthening partnerships, we support organizations of missions between the two countries, whether they are French universities or organizations coming to Canada, or Canadian organizations wishing to travel to France. For example, we plan to have a delegation coming from France about the topic of oceanography in June 2020, which was obviously not taking place either in 2021, maybe in 2022, hopefully. We can also support the organization of bilateral workshops and symposia to promote the French expertise. We give you two examples. One is a symposium we organized here in Ottawa with the University of Ottawa and also the Royal Society of Canada, which was over 2 days about science, trust, and democracy in the digital age. Another one was a French-American climate talk about the ocean, which took place in Edmonton. So we can support these type of symposia with the financial support, which will help to have French researchers coming here in Canada to discuss the different topics. To promote the exchange of students, researchers, and entrepreneurs, so there is a partnership between the embassy and MyTax for the GRI and GRA programs. So that could be helpful for some universities which don't have a program like this with MyTax. And we also have the Moreau-Strickland program. So the Moreau-Strickland program was coined after the name of Gérard Moreau and Donald Strickland from Waterloo, which were the 2018 Physics Nobel Prize laureates. And so these programs support the travel of researchers from France to Canada for a few days, or from Canada to France for a few days. And we support them through a round-trip air ticket and 3 days allowance. For example, in 2019, there was one researcher from Waterloo who could travel to France with this program. So there is a call every year. Obviously, this year, the mobility was, as you know, completely canceled. So hopefully for next year, 2022, this program could start again. Other types of tools to foster the French-Canadian scientific cooperation. As you heard, in France, we have universities. We also have research organizations such as CNRS, INRIA, INSERM, and so on. We'll briefly talk about the European funding system and the France-Canada Research Fund. In terms of organizations which are supporting research, which are major organizations in France, CNRS, for example, as you can see on this slide, has different types of initiatives which are meant to help laboratories to develop corporations. From the left side to the right side, you have different types of supported projects, which can be smaller to bigger. And if you are connected to a CNRS lab, or if you are a CNRS researcher, you want to have more questions, you can reach out to Yann Matas, which is here in the room, in fact, which is the CNRS office director here in Canada. For H2020 and the European funding scheme, so these European funding schemes are multilateral collaborative research projects, which are involving several partners from different countries, including small companies. Now, since a few years, Canadian teams can take part in these funding schemes. However, they were not supported, but now they are, since this year, through the New Frontiers in the Research Fund, and they can receive up to $125,000 per year for up to 4 years. If you want more information, you can contact the New Frontiers in Research Fund here in Canada. The office can address some of your questions about that, how you can be funded by taking part in a European project. And finally, I would like to talk about the France-Canada Research Fund, which is the flagship of the cooperation for the French embassy between French and Canadian research labs. It's a seeding funding scheme that will support new collaborative projects between a French and a Canadian team. It can be either coming from the Canadian team or the French team. It is on the Canadian side a consortium of 20 universities, and you can see here that the University of Waterloo is one of them. So if you want to start a new project from the University of Waterloo or from Bordeaux with a lab in University of Waterloo, you can apply. And in France, it's supported by the French Ministry of Research and Innovation, so it can be from any lab, from any organizations in France. The French Canadian Research Fund so has two co-presidents, Ruby Heap from the University of Ottawa and Jacques Samaru from the École Normale Supérieure in Lyon. It exists since 20 years. It has funded over 300 projects, including 16 from the University of Waterloo. Every year, 15 to 20 projects are selected, and this type of project are supported with a $15,000 grant per project after peer evaluation on both sides from France and Canada. And we have different partners. MyTax is part of it, so some students can be supported by the MyTax schemes. And the Ministry of Higher Education and Research in France is also allowing some PhD fellowships for 2 or 3 of the projects which are laureates every year. So there are also PhD funding which is available through the France-Canada Research Fund. you have a local contact at your university, or the national contact is here at the French Embassy as shown on the slide. And finally, a recent project that we started based on the French-Canada Research Fund is the Innovation, the France-Canada Innovation Platform, which is a new tool which is aiming at connecting companies and academic laboratories. What I mean by that is that if there is a company who has a need of innovation but doesn't have the resources in-house to address this question, they reach out to the platform, which will be a matchmaking platform, and find them a team. So at the moment, for example, we had a call in 2020, which led to 4 companies reaching out to the platform. And these companies are now in contact with universities and with laboratories to address the question they have. Most of these laboratories so far the projects were in AI or machine learning, but we are interested in any type of other type of project. I don't want to take the floor too long to leave some space for my colleague at the Embassy of Canada in France. So here is our contact under our Science and Cultural Counselor. I'm at the French Embassy in Ottawa, and we also have an office in Toronto with Waterloo, which is Science and Technology Officer. And with that, I will stop here, and Féronia will give you some more information from the Canadian Embassy in France. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Xavier. And then now we move to Féronia.
Bonjour et merci pour votre invitation. Merci, Xavier. I will try to show you my screen. Yeah, I will go directly to international collaboration of Canadian universities. 81% of Canada's universities offer collaborative academic programs with international partners, and we have more than 800 agreements with French universities. We have about 97 universities in Canada. It's about the same numbers of universities that you have in France. We don't have a system of grandes écoles in Canada, of course, with the exception of Quebec, where you might find École Polytechnique and HEC Montréal. And research is mostly done conducted at Canadian universities. So I'll go to the next slide. 38% of research and development in Canada is conducted at Canadian universities, and Canada represents only 0.5% of the world's population, yet Canadian researchers publish more than 2.8% of the world's research publications. The next one shows you our website for information on scholarships from the federal government and from provincial governments, but most scholarships for students will come from professors' labs because professors are funded by the federal government, and we'll understand how soon, and they can hire students to do research in their labs. So this is the website for students to look for a scholarship, and you can actually search by country and by level of study. 2 examples here. One is the Benting Postdoctoral Fellowships Program, and these are very prestigious awards that are $70,000 per year and for 2 years, and are available to international scholars as well. So you would have to have had your PhD recently, and they have a criterion of leadership. And I invite you to go to the website and see what that means exactly. It's extracurricular activities, volunteer work, and normally the university would recommend a scholar for this award. And The same type of scholarship is the Vanier Canada Graduate Scholarship. And so students are recommended by their departments, by their professors, and they can have an allowance of $50,000 per year for 3 years during their PhD studies. So these awards are open to all disciplines, and again, they are also based on an additional criterion, which is leadership. Mechanisms for federal funding for university research. In Canada, we have three granting agencies that give direct funding for research. One is the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada, for hard sciences, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research for health, and the Social Science and Humanities Research Council for humanities and social sciences. And they are the equivalent of the ANR in France, Agence Nationale de Recherche. So they are funding agencies, and they organize peer review competitions for funding for researchers based at universities. And international scholars are eligible for some of these funds if they work in teams with their Canadian colleagues. And so the funds will go to the Canadian university, and they have to be used in Canada, but international scholars are eligible for funding in several programs. I will also send you a list of an updated list of programs where international scholars are available, are eligible, sorry. Other programs that are funded by the federal government are the Canada Excellence Research Chairs Program, Canada Research Chairs Program, and Canada Graduate Scholarship Master's Program. So Canada Research Chairs, the government of Canada invested in 2,000 research chairs. These are professors who come from all over the world to teach in Canada. And they have very strong laboratories, and they have funding for PhD students, postdocs, and even master students who work on their research project. Canada Graduate Scholarships, the master's program, allows students to apply for a research program as well. And these programs are, the first two are, even if they are tri-agency programs, meaning that the eligibility is in all fields, they are administered by SSHRC, Social Science and Humanities Research Council, and the Canada Graduate Scholarship Master's Program is also open to all disciplines. The Canada Foundation for Innovation is the agency that funds labs and facilities, infrastructure, and you can apply for funding for infrastructure when you apply for direct funding for research. One thing that I wanted to mention about the CFI is that they have a searching engine for funded projects. It's called the Navigator. So if you like to go on the website, you will find the Navigator, which is the searching engine of projects that are available, that are ongoing and funded by CFI. MyTax, and it was mentioned a few times. So MyTax used to be a network of centers of excellence funded in 1999 on mathematics and applied mathematics, and it had a collaboration with INRIA, like an older collaboration, and a while ago it became our national agency for mobility funding. It does fund mobility in the context of Fonds France Canada pour la Recherche that Xavier mentioned, and also it has agreements with several communes here in France, and with Bordeaux as well, and within RIA as well. So MyTax is where we go for research internships for students. General resources to find other general resources to find progress and partnerships. You have Universities Canada website, and we do have U15. I think it was mentioned earlier, University of Waterloo is part of the Canadian research intensive universities, and you have an equivalent organization here in France, UDIS. Then colleges and institutes Canada, because research is also conducted at colleges. Going Global Innovation Fund, Canada Foundation for Innovation that I mentioned before, Human Frontier Science Program fellowships as well. And to end, I will speak a little bit about our activities. So at the Embassy of Canada in France, we also have a beautiful cultural center, Canadian Cultural Center, where we can receive you if you wish to organize information sessions about studying in Canada at your universities. And we organize EduCanada Open Doors on the occasion of Parisian fairs for universities, and this is a list of fairs we participate in with delegations of universities coming to Paris, and also we have virtual fairs and information sessions that are going on online right now on studying in Canada. And we organize B2B sessions for academic cooperation at the Embassy of Canada in France on the occasion of EduCanada fairs, so for partnerships. And here is a link for a list of events. And yes, thank you very much.
Many thanks, Fevronia. Xavier, this is tremendously helpful. So great for all our researchers to know about resources. We're actually developing a joint website between our institutions, and if it's okay with both of you, we can incorporate the material that you presented this morning in a resources section. I think it'll be tremendously useful.
Yes, of course, you can.
Wonderful.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, thanks to both of you again. So now I'm going to turn it over to Laurent.
Thank you. So thank you for this interesting presentation. So continuing thinking about future, I am now giving the floor to Terry McMahon, one of the original and central pillar of the Bordeaux-Waterloo partnership. Please, Terry.
Okay, thanks very much, Laurent. The first thing I'll have to say is that it's really been a pleasure and a privilege for me to have been associated with the partnership with Bordeaux from its very beginning. And the person who really deserves credit for that is somebody whose name was mentioned earlier, and that is Professor Eric Cruzet, who was one of the first hires when we created the nanotechnology undergraduate program at Waterloo. And when Eric arrived, and even during his interview for the position of professor that he took up, he posed the question, what are you doing with Europe? And what are you doing with France? And it was embarrassing to say almost nothing to both of those questions. And he, because of his connections to Bordeaux, particularly with Jean Etourneau, we began a dialogue, and that led to the inclusion of the University of Waterloo in the IDS FundMat program funded by the EU. And so as time went on, the snowball effectively gathered, and more opportunities became available for collaborations with Bordeaux in many, many other areas. Okay, and now if I could ask somebody to share the screen for the new website. Okay, great, thanks Pedro. So here is where the future lies for the Waterloo-Bordeaux collaboration. This is the website that will go live relatively shortly, and that then will give us the opportunity to advertise for new opportunities for partnerships, joint projects, whatever. And we hope that this will be an extremely wide-ranging type of activity that will be possible. So there will be possibilities for joint research projects where people have homologous research interests. There will be possibilities for student mobility. So graduate students in particular will be able to carry out research in the opposite campus, where there will be opportunities for workshops, for basically brainstorming activities in order that people can pool their expertise and figure out exactly how they might better work together. And so this is actually, from my point of view, an extremely exciting development, that we're creating this new joint research institute, which will have funding from both of our universities and with possibilities for matching, as we've just heard, from agencies in both France and Canada and the EU, in order to make these collaborations even more exciting and productive. And so basically, just to use an old advertising saying, in the days when advertising was done with billboards, you would see a blank billboard come up occasionally, and the message on the blank billboard was basically, watch this space. So in essence then, watch for the space of the new website that is coming soon, and you'll be very interested to discover the future opportunities that are going to be available. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. What a great note to end off on. Our second decade is looking very exciting indeed. So as we bring our celebration to a close, we have many people to thank who helped make this celebration possible.
Yes, so I would like to thank Anne Blasio, Pedro Santiago, Nicolas Giraud, who is here, who is a man who make Zoom alive during this morning and afternoon. Professor Jan Rollans, who has been part of our meetings, Pedro Santiago, Traslin Cornelius, Glenda Gilmore, Eric Jardin, and a special thank to Véronique de Borlazaro, who is not here anymore, but whose work and energy has been really important in the settling of the partnership.
And I'd like to add Kira Duffy, Drew Knight, Regan Child, Caitlin Wag, and John Thompson, who was a big part of the development of the Bordeaux Waterloo relationship and looking ahead to our joint institute. So with that, merci à tous et à toutes. And thank you so much for joining us for this great celebration. À bientôt, à l'avenir.
Yes, so because it's a birthday, I have taken a specific cake from Bordeaux, which is a cannelé. So it's a cannelé. I hope you will have the opportunity to come to have one here. And I put a little candle. And so, because this is, I hope we will not have a smoke alarm. So for you, it's time of dessert. Okay, it's time of breakfast. And you have a cake. So I want to thank everybody for this meeting. Thank you very much, Bernie, for helping us and preparing this meeting and working all the year on the preparation of this new joint institute.
Thank you, Laurent. It's been nothing but a pleasure. And again, thank you to everyone for being part of this very special occasion, and fantastic things to come. Au revoir.
Thank you. Bye.